Michael, we have known each other for many years, and I really admire your ability to think about what matters in the world, of how people have to be able to understand each other, and you have a very peculiar, very impactful way of thinking about that challenge, right? That is what has been driving you for many years.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's, thank you for using the word peculiar. That's one of many adjectives one could use. It's basically, there's about 7.6 billion people on the planet, and they speak a total of 6,800 languages. And the technology exists today to enable all of the knowledge that's created in the world, including video, to be made available to all of the people in their native language on whatever level phone they have, whether it's a feature phone or a smartphone. They don't need internet connectivity. And, and our personal goal is to remove language as a barrier to cross-cultural communication. And sort of the mantra is Mr. Nelson Mandela, who says when you speak to a man in a language he understands, you speak to his head. But when you speak to a man in his native language, you speak to his heart. And every brand and every company and every person wants to emotionally connect with their audience, their employees, their shareholders, their customers' hearts. So we really want the ability to have everyone in the world connect with everyone else, and unfortunately, only 6% of the planet Earth speaks English as a native language, and people are shocked at that statistic. And so most companies in the United States think everyone in the world speaks English, so they don't make the little bit of effort or spend a little bit of money to make their videos or their knowledge or their marketing available in native languages, and they would build such a better rapport and relationship with people in other countries if they made that other extra effort to speak to them in their native language.
And it is starting with that you created Dotsub many years ago.
Yes.
How does Dotsub achieve this goal?
Well, there's 3 different ways to communicate in multiple languages. There's AI or machine translation, and Google and Microsoft and all of these other companies are having earbuds when you can speak to a taxi driver in Japan and give him. So there's AI or automatic translation, which is getting better. Neural translation is getting better. The second way is community or crowd translation, to have the engagement of a community. Like, for example, we started with TED and put our platform and introduced with TED the TED Open Translation Program. So right now there's about 35,000 translators in over 130 languages translating TED Talks. We're working with the Indian spiritual mystic Osho that has 100 million followers that are translating his teaching of 10,000 hours into over 80 languages. So community and crowd is a way. And then the final way is professional translation. And Dotsub has networks of thousands of professional translators, and we work for corporations whose brand messaging and storytelling is extremely important. They're spending huge amounts of money to make the videos. Their brand image is very important, so they don't want to have their messages internal or external, whether it's marketing, whether it's training, whether it's advertising, whatever it is, to have poor quality translation so there's 3 different levels of translation, and we are neutral as to how people do it. We've just actually integrated a ASR, automatic speech recognition tool, in 27 languages to enable this, and we're soon going to be having integration with Amazon and other people to offer this to other people. But the traditional way we want to do this is at a much higher quality level. Lots of people are going at the automatic level. It's very inexpensive, very close to free. But none, like IBM has been a long-time customer of ours, but they don't use Watson to do their internal CEO speeches.
And when you have the captions and the translations available for a video, that greatly helps with the ability for the video to also to be discovered. And as a consequence, increases, enlarges the audience for that message, right? With search engines indexing the content of the video transcription and translation, in every language where it is available. I think that is a great advantage in order for the message to reach to the places that otherwise it wouldn't be able to reach.
Yeah, normally with videos, and everybody thinks that videos have been part of our life forever, but YouTube started about 11 years ago. And originally, the only thing on a video for many years that was tagged, well, the metadata was the title of the video and a 1 or 2 line description of the video. So when you wanted to search for that video, you didn't have any idea what was in the video, searching inside the video. But now, when you have the time-coded caption in the source language of the video, and then you have the translation, in many cases you have the location to a microsecond. So if you're a pharmaceutical company and you have a drug that addresses a certain medical problem, you can serve up advertising at exactly the microsecond in a video where something relating to your drug or the need for your drug is. So the ability to identify at that level is just exponentially increase the power and value of videos.
The companies, in order to bring to international markets their products and services, work with what are called language service providers, specialized
LSPs,
companies that take care of internationalization as well as the translation at a professional level of many different kinds of media. The product manuals, the instruction manuals, guarantees, and the packaging and whatever else. And it is within this mix that video also lives. So how does Dotsub support the work of an LSP as they need to serve their clients best?
President Nixon said many years ago, I'm glad you asked that question, the language service market is about almost a $50 billion industry now. It's a huge, rapidly growing industry that is primarily based on text-based or word-based translation. So most of the translators are paid by the word. And so what we've done is Dotsub for 2 years, and we launched it earlier in 2018. We've launched V3 or version 3 of our platform. It's specifically focused on LSPs or companies that have large numbers of their own translation resources. So it's a user's thing, so people can do that, because all of this $50 billion industry is text-based, but the explosion of video makes it very difficult for these LSPs to provide service to their clients for their ever-increasing number of marketing videos, training videos, internal videos. So that's really what it is. And the field is a localization field, because at the very high end, it's not translation, but you're localizing into the culture, and so it's a really, really expanding field as companies are going more and more global, like with Amazon and Netflix distributing their product in over 100 countries.
With the increasing power of social media platforms, whether Facebook or Instagram or any platform now with hundreds of millions or billions of users, they embrace video very strongly. And as people use their phones and consume video on their phones within the social media platforms, on the subway, while in transit, hopefully not while driving, these videos are often muted. So for me, it was wonderful to see how the value of captions and translations on these videos became increasingly essential, because a muted video can only be understood if the captions and the translations are there.
Yeah.
So I have seen an increasing adoption of videos with text overlays, whether in a very dynamic fashion like Dotsub provides, or a little more laborious fashion burned in directly in the editing phase, which is not flexible. But I think this is witness to how essential a platform like Dotsub is, really to the infrastructure that the internet provides for human communication.
Well, you mentioned burn-in. Burn-in is not laborious at Dotsub because it's just clicking a button. The client can, if they have a video in 4 languages, and the video actually, when we're rendering the video that's viewed on the web, we are streaming text that's streamed over the top of the video player, which is streaming video. Mm-hmm. And if you want a Turkish video, you just press burn-in, and then we will automatically create an MP4 file of the video with the Turkish subtitles burned in, so the client can use that video, they can email it, they can Dropbox it, they can have it on their hard drive, because lots of people are making presentations or sales calls in places where the internet doesn't work very well. And if you spend money and you're a pharmaceutical company and you have one of your salesmen in a large client and then the internet doesn't work, you're out of luck. But if you have that video on your hard drive in the native language, you can do that. So, the other thing is more and more people are at work, supposedly working, but they're looking at Facebook or Instagram or things, and they're watching videos on the web, and they can't have any volume. So in order for them to understand it, and it's really interesting because at the end of the day, there's a really significant difference in quality. When you're just trying to get the gist or the idea of something, machine translation and AI work is better than nothing. It's continually getting better, not good enough for brand imaging, but lots of people are doing that to have the online social media because they don't have the money to spend to do that. And so it's really interesting. And then relative to the second level we talked about translation, when you have a large global passionate audience that knows your product or your service, or if you're a nonprofit, what you're trying to do in the world, those people do this because they love what you're doing. And so relating to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, for example, when you're doing a video about gender equality and you have a woman in Africa translating that video because she loves the subject and wants other people to know it about gender into Swahili, for example, she then can distribute what she did to her social network because she is likely an influencer. So she might have thousands of people following her, and she has the incredible credibility of doing the translation, as opposed to if you just do it and you make it available in Swahili, you don't get the benefit of all of that social media connection and weight. So there's just all kinds of integration with all of the social media efforts.
And thank you very much. Dotsub, I think, has a bright future, both with corporations as well as with messages wherever they come from, and it deserves to be used by thousands or millions of people in order to have their messages reach the world.
Thank you. And without getting into any political conversation, the world ever more needs communication, so everyone in the world can have access to the knowledge of what's going on in their native language. Thank you, David.